In an age where good people often suffer losses while the deceitful rise high, many begin to doubt and wonder, is it really worth living kindly? Today's message is not only a reminder, but also a comfort, a small light for those who strive to live with goodness, yet feel lonely in the world. Take a few quiet moments, listen, and then ask yourself, am I living in accordance with truth? Am I keeping the light within my heart alive? Have you ever sat alone, watching the currents of life flow by, and wondered, why do good people always suffer while the wicked seem to thrive, growing rich, even being praised and admired? This is not only your question. For thousands of years, countless generations have wrestled with the same thought. Looking around society, you can easily see a person sincerely helping others ends up betrayed or exploited by the very ones they helped. A person doing honest business, keeping morality, never prospers as quickly as those who deceive and step on others, yet become successful entrepreneurs. A public servant devoted to the people is crushed by those in power, while the corrupt sit comfortably in high seats. The world sometimes appears upside down, white and black reversed. People begin to lose faith in morality, and the question arises, what good is there in being a decent person? This question may sound practical, but it is in fact dangerous, because it plants within your heart a seed of doubt against justice, against kindness, the very root of being human. The truth is, moral law has never disappeared. It does not shout, it does not compete, it does not parade as loudly as evil. Kindness is like water, flowing quietly. Evil is like fire, fierce, but quick to burn out. I recall a story once told. Long ago, in a small mountain village, there was a man named Ton Thu. He was famous for his wealth and for his stinginess. When the villagers collected money to repair a landslide-damaged road, he pretended to be poor, spreading rumors that his harvest had failed, that he had no grain to eat. Out of pity, the villagers did not force him to contribute. Yet later, they discovered he had secretly transported carts of rice to sell. Anger flared, but no one could act because the village law of old was too weak to punish such deceit. One day, he threw a lavish feast to celebrate his son passing the village exam. In the middle of the banquet, he suddenly foamed at the mouth and died instantly at the table. Everyone said it was a stroke. But the oldest scholar in the village only smiled faintly and whispered, "Heaven does not need to speak. What is wrong must still be corrected. Sow wrongly, reap accordingly." You see, heaven does not always need thunderbolts to strike. Sometimes, it only takes one small moment to set everything back in place. Yet what confuses people most lies elsewhere. If heaven is just, why let the good be cheated while the wicked live so long? This question cannot be answered in a few lines. But imagine, you watch a long movie, and only 15 minutes in, you demand to know the ending. Would that make sense? Heaven and earth have their own film, written with time, fate, and precise justice. Those who walk the wrong path, no matter how far they go, will one day have to return and pay the price. No one is clever enough to deceive the law of heaven. No one is strong enough to escape the silent, piercing gaze of that invisible justice. That is why the ancient saying is not empty at all. Raise your head 3 feet, and there are deities above. This does not mean gods literally stand above us. It means that in every act, word, and thought, there is always an invisible eye watching. The eye of heaven, of justice, of moral truth, of your very own conscience. People often say, when the heart is at peace, the sky is at peace. Indeed, when you live upright, deceiving no one, harming no one, your heart has nothing to hide, nothing to fear. That is a solid strength. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. For those who do evil, it is the opposite. They may live under dazzling lights, but their soul is in darkness. They may laugh loudly, but their heart trembles with fear. For they know, deceit may fool people, but it cannot fool heaven. As the proverb says, heaven's net is vast, its mesh is wide, yet none escape. So do not envy the wicked. Do not lose faith in kindness just because you were deceived. Do not hesitate to live decently just because you suffered loss. For kindness does not need an audience. It only needs you to know that you live without shame before heaven and earth. The wicked, no matter how much praise they receive in their lifetime, when they quietly face the mirror, still dare not look into their own eyes. That is the most silent yet cruel punishment. In life, there are stories that make people feel as if morality has died. A blatantly corrupt man, a shameless deceiver, still lives in wealth, even honored. A cunning trickster, repeatedly committing wrongs without ever being punished. Meanwhile, the honest, upright ones struggle endlessly in poverty, failure, and loneliness. From this, many begin to harbor doubt. They ask, if retribution is real, then why does heaven allow the wicked to live long while the good die young? If heaven has eyes, why doesn't justice come sooner? That question seems logical, but in truth, it is because we are looking at life with a clock that ticks too hastily, forgetting that heaven and earth have their own time, slow, precise, cold, and more just than any human verdict. Doing evil is like drinking poison mixed with honey. At first it is sweet, but afterward it rots the organs. Ancient Indian proverb. It is not that heaven tolerates evil, but that heaven gives them one last chance to stop. It is not that the good are forgotten, but that heaven is teaching them how to grow in adversity. Heaven does not need to avenge you, but heaven does not forget. Heaven does not need to warn, but it always repays justly. Think about it. How many have harmed others, living in indulgence for decades, only to die in loneliness, sickness, with no descendants, no incense at their graves? How many who deceived and exploited others ended up hiding in shame, reputations ruined, dying without a single mourner? Retribution does not arrive when you demand to see it. It comes when arrogance, ignorance, and sins have accumulated fully, like water spilling from a brimming cup. I once read an old record in the book Trois Hoa Luk. In Chengzhou County, there was an official named Chu Tu Dat. In his youth, he was poor, supported by an old teacher who fed and educated him. Later, after passing the imperial exams, he turned his back, forged a will, and seized the land of his benefactor. The old teacher died in grief. 30 years later, when he had risen to the position of provincial inspector, Chu Tu Dat developed a strange illness. His tongue swelled so he could not speak. His limbs contracted as if bound by invisible chains. Despite countless remedies, nothing improved. In the end, he wrote down his wrongdoings, hoping to atone, but before he could make it public, he died in convulsions. Later, people found this confession beneath his pillow. The final line read, "I ate the people's rice without shame, but because I stole from my benefactor, I cannot raise my head to heaven." Just one act of evil. Yet when rooted in ingratitude and betrayal, heaven did not need swords, only remorse at life's end to make that man judge himself. Some forms of retribution do not come as disasters, but as an empty, cold life with no true companionship, or through wayward children squandering the wealth their parents amassed dishonestly. Some punishments do not fall on the evildoer, but upon the ones they love most, for heaven does not strike wood or stone, but the softest place, the heart. The way of heaven does not use clubs to strike people. It takes what one once cherished most and makes them lose it. Tin Tum Thu. We often think a wicked person arrested, imprisoned, or struck by disaster is retribution. But true retribution is sharper, quieter, more bitter. Some go through life without calamity or prison, yet must swallow sleeping pills each night, tormented in spirit, unable to trust anyone, stripped of all joy in living? Is that not punishment? A director once manipulated accounts, ruining countless employees. He declared, "Money is king. Whoever has money is right." A few years later, the company collapsed. His wife left. His son fell into addiction. He did not die, but lived like the dead. Every morning, he looked into the mirror and cried. People said he kept muttering, "I once thought I had won, but in truth, I lost the moment I harmed others." What is victory? To defeat others is not true victory. The greatest victory in life is to overcome greed, desire, and the malicious temptations of one's own heart. Some say, the good may remain poor for life. True, but that poverty is material, not moral. They live with light hearts, respected by others, blessed with filial children. That is a fortune not everyone can possess. By contrast, the wicked may live long, but in fear, anxiety, and scorn behind their backs. Their death may bring no tears. Their names may vanish from memory as if they never existed. That is the cruelest form of retribution, to live meaningless and to die forgotten. So do not think retribution is superstition or fantasy. Retribution is a silent but precise law, like winter following autumn, like a shadow following the body. When you commit wrong, you may evade human eyes, but you can never escape the eyes of your own conscience, nor the eyes of heaven and earth. Sooner or later, every act, every word, every thought carries a price. If you have read this far, take a moment of silence and ask yourself, is there something you once did that still weighs on your heart? Is there someone you once hurt whom you have yet to apologize to? Heaven does not demand greatness of you, only that you not be cruel. Because once you sow evil, no matter how fast you run, retribution will keep pace. There is something even more terrifying than the existence of evil. It is when people stop believing in righteousness. When they begin to think that kindness is foolish, goodness is weakness, honesty is suffering. That is when morality is eroded from within their own hearts. But you see, morality has never left this world. It merely hides, quietly waiting for those with enough calm, clarity, and courage to see it. It is not loud, not ostentatious, not competing with worldly clamor. It reveals itself in the smallest things. In an old driver returning a forgotten wallet, though he is deep in debt. In a woman wrapping up her meal for a homeless man, though she herself has just enough to eat. In a student confessing to his teacher that he copied a classmate's work, then asking to have points deducted. The moral law of life lies in the simplest of deeds, and it is precisely these quiet actions that keep the world from collapsing. When you are betrayed, you may lose faith in people, but do not let it make you lose faith in goodness. When you see evil prevailing, do not despair. Remember this, morality is like the sun. Though hidden by clouds, it never disappears. In the book Taiping Guangji, there is a story about an old man named Liang Chang who lived during the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms period. He was once a minor official in a riverside county, known for his integrity and compassion for the people. When rebellion broke out, he was captured and enslaved, his wife and children scattered, his family torn apart. Someone once asked him, "You served honestly all your life. Why did heaven not protect you?" He only smiled and said, "I do not ask heaven to favor me. I only wish to live without shame before heaven." Years later, when peace was restored, the emperor heard of him, summoned him to the capital, appointed him assistant minister, and provided support to reunite him with his family. Until the end of his life, he often told his students, "I have nothing to teach you but one thing. As a person, keep your heart upright. Heaven may not give you gold or silver, but it will give you peace of mind for a lifetime." That story shows us that to live righteously is not to earn rewards, but to let the heart remain at ease. Sometimes, morality cannot calm the storms, but it keeps you from being swept away. It may not make you rich instantly, but it makes you the kind of person who does not bow even in poverty. You see, morality does not lie in being praised by others, but in facing yourself without shame. And if there is any deity above your head, it is your conscience. Conscience is the only court that never sleeps. William Shakespeare. We live in a world where many are willing to turn black into white for a little gain. Yet, in that same world, there are those who quietly live by one principle. Do no evil, even when no one is watching. Do good, even when no one praises. They are the ones who silently preserve a measure of fairness in life. I once met an 84-year-old man who picked up trash along the lake every morning. When asked, I learned he was a retired teacher. I asked, Do you do this to exercise? He smiled. No, I just don't want my grandchildren to pass by and see trash, thinking, our grandfather once taught others how to be human, yet he didn't even keep his own lake clean. Then he said something that left me speechless. Live in a way that does not make the place you once lived worse. That is enough. A person like that commands respect. They do not preach morality, they live it. No slogans, no pretense, just actions born from the heart and a life lived from within. They do not demand heaven to be fair to them. Yet strangely, heaven grants them peace, filial descendants, and the affection of others. There is no need for obvious retribution, nor for punishment. It is enough that the wicked end up lonely in silence, while the good live with the light within their hearts. Therefore, if ever you feel lost in this world, do not abandon kindness. Do not let hurt strip you of compassion. Do not let deceit make you give up on living sincerely. Do not let unpunished evil make you drop what is right. Keep living with goodness, not for anyone else, but because it is the only way to keep yourself whole amidst a polluted life. And if you are patient enough, you will see. Morality never disappears. It only waits for you to be deep enough to perceive it, calm enough to feel it, and brave enough to follow it. To suffer losses is not weakness. It is a form of wisdom. The world often measures success by what the eyes can see: status, money, grand houses, and fame. Few are willing to look at the submerged part of the iceberg, where the most enduring values lie quietly: virtue, kindness, and compassion. In a world where everyone fights for gain, those who refuse to scramble are seen as incompetent. Those who yield are seen as weak. Those who live honestly are mocked as foolish. The kind-hearted, instead of being respected, are often exploited, deceived, and looked down upon. But is that truly a loss? No, it is a choice, and only those strong within can choose to bear losses without resentment, without calculation, without bitterness. There is an old story I love. Long ago in the Yentu Mountains, there was a woodcutter named To-min. Poor but honest, each day he chopped wood to trade for rice. One day, deep in the forest, he heard groaning. Approaching, he found an old man with an injured leg under a tree. To-min hurriedly carried the old man to his humble hut, gave him his bed, and cooked porridge with the last bowl of rice in his house. On the third day, the old man recovered and quietly left, saying nothing but a word of thanks. Neighbors mocked To-min. That man may be rich, or even a fraud. You wasted days of work and food, and got nothing in return. To-min only smiled and said, helping others is not for reward, but so I can live without shame. Years later, during a great flood, the village was submerged, rice was swept away, and many starved. But every morning, a sack of rice appeared quietly at To-min's door, with a note: the life you saved long ago, today is repaid. Much later, people learned the old man was a wealthy merchant who had sought herbs in the forest and suffered an accident. The loss To-min bore became an unseen blessing that sheltered his family through years of hardship. From that little story, we realize to be kind is not to be ignorant of calculations, but to choose not to harm others, to seize benefits for oneself. The kind-hearted sometimes clearly know they are at a disadvantage, yet remain silent, because they believe that in this world there is something more precious than gain: integrity. To suffer losses is not to be defeated. To accept losses without a narrow heart or a darkened mind, that is the greatest strength of a person who truly understands the way of being human. Bearing loss is a blessing. This ancient saying may sound contradictory at first, but it is a profound life philosophy of the ancients. When you endure in an argument, it does not mean you have lost. It means you have conquered the anger within. When you forgive the one who hurt you, it is not because you are weak. It is because you are strong enough not to carry hatred in your heart. When you are willing to yield in an opportunity, it is not because you are inferior. It is because you understand that what belongs to you will arrive at the right time. To suffer loss without resentment, that is virtue. To suffer loss yet still keep compassion, that is mercy. To suffer loss without losing faith in life, that is wisdom. In the book of Giezi it is written, "A gentleman does not fear stepping back. Step back, and the sky widens, the sea deepens. But a petty man who presses forward an inch will invite disaster upon himself." Today, people often teach children to be strong, to compete, to never let others bully them. That is not wrong. But if we only teach them how to fight for advantage and forget to teach forgiveness, then they will grow like rootless trees, tall perhaps, but easy to topple in a storm. To live as a human being does not require always winning. It only requires not harming others and not betraying your own conscience. That alone is already a worthy life. An old Zen master once said, "The one who accepts loss does not need to prove anything, because they do not live to conquer others. They live to conquer themselves." In this world, true strength is not forcing others to bow their heads, but being able to raise your own head amid storms, with a heart still at peace. Bearing loss does not always make you lose. It often makes others respect you more, trust you more, and the heavens deal more gently with you. Goodness is a seed. Blessings may not arrive early, but they will arrive in their proper season. To live kindly is sometimes like planting a seed in barren soil. You cannot know when the sprout will emerge, and no one applauds you while you toil in silence. Yet one day, when others are lost in thorns and deserts, you may find that where you once patiently waited, a pure lotus blossoms in the midst of life. Living with kindness may not help you climb faster than others, may not bring instant wealth, but it will keep you from falling hard in strong winds, keep you from regret when you look into your own eyes, and above all, preserve what is most precious: serenity, humanity, and enduring blessings. A friend of mine, Hoang, was once a mechanical engineer at a large factory in Binduang. He told me that in his youth, he discovered his manager was embezzling materials, selling them for profit. He hesitated between silence and exposing the truth. If he spoke, he risked isolation, even dismissal. But if he stayed silent, his conscience would not rest. In the end, he decided to file a report. As he feared, he was soon transferred to a lower department, ignored by colleagues. Low pay, heavy pressure. He nearly quit. But 3 years later, during a surprise inspection by the head office, the entire scheme was exposed. The corrupt manager was prosecuted, while Huang, thanks to his meticulous notes and evidence, was vindicated and promoted to department head. When asked later, he only smiled. "I once thought I was at a loss. But it turned out, heaven only wanted me to take the long road, to forge a steadier heart and a clearer mind. If I had advanced by keeping silent, perhaps I would no longer be myself." That was not compensation. It was simply good fruit ripening in its season. Those who live with kindness, though quiet, are sowing seeds of beauty into the world, and heaven never leaves them empty-handed. In the Book of Rites, Confucius wrote, "A virtuous person, though not seeking, still has helpers. Though not speaking, still has trust. Though not competing, still receives a share." These words are not only for noblemen, they are for anyone who dares to hold on to goodness amidst a distorted world. Because the law of heaven does not look at noise. It looks at the steadfast heart, unchanged through the years. Heaven tests the good not to destroy them, but to refine them into jewels. Only through grinding can they shine. Many often ask, "I've done good for years. Why has my life not improved?" This question is like a farmer who sowed seeds yesterday, impatient today that the flowers have not bloomed. Goodness is not a winning lottery ticket. It is a savings account of hidden virtue, silently accruing interest, yet always secure. In history, there is the story of Tran Duinyuan. When he was a humble village teacher in San Nam, he often helped the poor, teaching without charge, donating rice during famine. Though his own family was not wealthy, he never refused anyone. One year, his son fell gravely ill, with no money for treatment. The whole village thought he would not survive. One day, a stranger appeared with a skilled doctor and rare medicine. That stranger turned out to be a former student whom he had once supported through school. The child was cured, and later Tran Duinyuan himself was recommended to the court and became a district magistrate. When asked if he had a secret to changing his fate, he replied, "I have no secret. I only lived so that if someone poor stood at my door, I would not turn away." Kindness is like shade by the roadside. You may not need it today, but you will be grateful when the sun burns harshly. It is not dazzling, not loud, yet it saves lives at the darkest times. The kind may face hardships at first. This is the trial. But if they endure, heaven and earth will not forsake them. Sometimes, blessings do not come as money, but as a loyal friend, a harmonious family, or a peaceful night's sleep free of nightmares. Sometimes, the reward of goodness is not in this life, but for the generations after, descendants who reap sweet fruit from the shade left by their ancestors. There's a proverb that says, "The family that accumulates virtue will surely have abundant blessings." A life of kindness may not guarantee wealth and rank, but 100 years later, one's name still carries fragrance, and descendants continue to benefit. That is the true root of great fortune. To live kindly is to sow gentle winds for others, but at the same time, to sow cool breezes for oneself. Even if you demand no repayment, heaven quietly responds in its own ways. Sometimes, you only need enough stillness to perceive it. The wicked may rise, but never endure. There is a paradox that pains and confuses many. Why are there those who live with malice, deceit, even harming others, yet they rise high, grow rich, receive applause, while those who live honorably seem destined for hardship and loss? This world at times appears as though justice has fallen asleep, while evil wears a crown and laughs arrogantly. But in truth, that so-called rising high, if purchased through trickery, falsehood, and the wounds inflicted upon others, is not genuine success. It is only a temporary glitter, like a great balloon swollen with air, beautiful, light, but hollow inside, and doomed to burst from the smallest prick. The wicked may go ahead of you, may climb higher, may succeed faster, but they cannot be as steady as you, cannot be as at peace as you, and cannot endure like moral law itself. The price of success without morality. An old businessman once said, "In business, you must have schemes, know how to play the game, don't be foolish, and cling to morality." He rose quickly, amassing uncountable wealth. But within a few years, he was betrayed by his own partners, exposed for countless violations, and forced to leave his company in disgrace, his reputation ruined. Afterward, he sank into depression, living quietly, abandoned by friends and family. On his wall hung only a faded plaque, "Success at any cost." That cost, in the end, was losing everything that makes life livable in peace. Lessons from history. In the records of the Grand Historian by Sima Qian, the story is told of Li Si, chancellor of the Qin dynasty. He was a man of great talent, but in order to secure his position, he conspired with Zhao Gao to frame Crown Prince Fusu and General Meng Tian, loyal servants of Qin. For a time, he preserved his power. But eventually Zhao Gao turned on him, accused him of treason, and Li Si, along with his entire clan, was executed in misery. On the eve of his death, he looked up at the sky and lamented, "All my life I plotted for myself, yet in the end, I could not escape the hands of one more treacherous than I." The tale reminds us, the wicked may be clever at scheming, but they can never control the consequences born from greed and betrayal. For evil has no endpoint. Those who climb through deceit will one day be dragged down by deceit. The unmasking of falsehood. You may lie once, twice, 10 times, but no one can lie for a lifetime without being exposed. Falsehood, no matter how glittering the disguise, eventually reveals its stench. Hearts may be deceived for a moment, but time is never deceived. Many wicked people die in illness and agony, abandoned in loneliness. Some lose children, grandchildren, fortunes in strange ways, not by mere accident, but as if an invisible hand were peeling away what they once stole. This is not heaven's punishment, but the natural outcome of a life lived against moral law. A proverb says, "To repay kindness with resentment, resentment never ends. To repay resentment with virtue, resentment dissolves on its own. But to repay kindness with resentment, to live without loyalty, without righteousness, without filial piety, without humanity, such a one should not expect to live in peace to the end." The inescapable law, evil is not always exposed before the public eye, but it is always recorded in human hearts and in the heavens and earth. And when the time comes, the cosmos will settle accounts in its own way. Cold, precise, without warning. The ancients said, "Doing evil is like walking in shoes of thorns. At first, the pain is hidden, but the farther you go, the more blood you shed. At first, the wicked feel no wrong, for evil is like sweet wine. The more you drink, the more intoxicated. But the deeper the intoxication, the nearer the abyss." The generational toll. You may see evil people living luxuriously, their children in international schools, their homes in villas, their cars expensive. But ask, what do those children learn from parents who scorn others, lie, and manipulate? Sooner or later, those very children will turn against them. Then the pain is not only losing wealth, but losing the most precious bond of all, family. Not a few wealthy magnates who lived by cruelty spend their old age shunned by their descendants, trembling before their own shadows. That is not divine punishment. It is the cruel portrait of a life that only knew how to take, never how to live righteously. People often say, "Heaven strikes the wicked." But in truth, heaven does not need to strike. It only needs to leave them to loneliness, emptiness, and guilt gnawing at their hearts until the end. That is a punishment harsher than whips or prisons. The Buddhist teaching. In the Dhammapada, it is written, "Even if one flies to the sky, dives into the depths of the sea, or hides in the heart of the mountains, he who has done evil cannot escape the consequences of his deeds." This is not a threat. It is a warning. A reminder to those who think that cleverness, manipulation, or cunning can outrun what is right. But truth does not need to chase after you. It only waits still until you have strayed too far, and then, when you finally turn back, you realize you lost the path of decency long ago. The restless life of the wicked. The wicked never truly sleep in peace, for their hearts have nothing to cling to but fear. The wicked are never truly happy, for happiness cannot be born from deceit. The wicked are never truly rich, for wealth built on the suffering of others is not treasure. It is a burden, heavy and corrosive. Maybe you see them eating well, dressing beautifully, laughing and talking before the crowd. But try watching them when they are alone. Are they at peace? Are they truly happy? Do they dare look into their children's eyes with clarity and honesty? The answer is often very clear. So do not admire the wicked simply because they stand high. Just wait and see how long they can remain there. A bird flying high is not frightening. What is frightening is thin wings. The wealthy are not to be envied. What is worrisome is thin blessings. What comes quickly also goes quickly. What is seized with malice sooner or later becomes a burden for the very one who took it. In this world, there is a kind of rising high that requires no trampling of others, rising by kindness, by hard work, by compassion. And there is also a kind of wealth that needs no deceit, the wealth of the soul, of relationships, of peace within. The good, though slow, walk steadily. The wicked, though swift, do not last. That is truth. It needs no argument, only time to prove. The silent power of the righteous, a light unshowy yet shining far. In daily life, people easily admire the strong, easily praise the noisy, easily get swept along by applause. But true light, the kind that guides others through the long night, is never noisy. It often comes from those who quietly live kindly, without seeking recognition, without demanding gratitude, not using morality to preach, but to practice. Goodness is not something grand. It exists in ways of living, speaking gently when others are fragile, yielding a step when someone is angry, not repaying malice with hatred, but with silence and tolerance. Such people are sometimes called too gentle, foolish, uncompetitive. But in truth, they hold in their hands the deepest human strength, the strength of a peaceful heart, a clear mind, and an unburdened spirit. The wicked must lean on schemes to obtain what they want. The good, though slower, can still attain what is rightfully theirs, without owing invisible debts to life. That is a freedom more enduring than any power. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "Goodness is like water. Water benefits all things without competing. Water may be soft but is strong. It does not contend yet embraces all." The good are like that, not vying, not overpowering, but influencing others naturally and deeply. They need not raise their voices, for their silence already makes others reflect. They need not prove themselves, for their calmness makes others trust. There are those who live simply their entire lives, never stepping on stage, never proclaiming philosophy, never doing anything grand, yet they raise kind children, leave their descendants a quiet moral legacy. They live like old trees by the roadside. No one praises, no one notices, but beneath their shade, people take shelter from rain and sun and feel grateful without words. That is the silent strength of those who live kindly, a solidity that needs no noise. There is an old man in the outskirts of Hanoi who, every morning, sweeps leaves before his gate and picks up trash around the street. No one asks him to. No one pays him. Someone once asked, "Why do you do this?" He simply smiled. "Where I live, I want it cleaner. I have no money to build schools, no strength to plant trees, so I keep the path clean. That too is doing good." People often think goodness must be grand, but sometimes a single small act is enough to touch others and make them change. Goodness does not need display. It spreads by presence. The good need not wear a sign saying, "I am kind," only to live kindly, and others will feel it without words. That is why the righteous are never lonely for long. Though at first they may suffer losses, be misunderstood, in time they gather around them true-hearted people, sincere friends, dutiful children, respectful colleagues, trusting neighbors. They live quietly, but leave a gentle mark in others' hearts. And when they are gone, people still speak of them with respect. In Zhengguang Shan Wen it is written, "The benevolent do not seek to stand out, but wherever they pass, good winds follow. The unrighteous love to show off, but wherever they go, foul winds trail." Indeed, it is true. The kind carry a light not dazzling, but warm. Anyone near feels at ease. The deceitful may command awe, but no one truly wishes closeness. One who inspires fear but not love, that is one to worry about. We live in an age when many values are inverted. Kindness is no longer praised as before. Honesty is doubted. Cunning is hailed as wisdom. But as the ancients said, goodness, though wordless, moves hearts. Evil, though eloquent, makes people turn away. You may not possess much wealth, may not hold position, may not be celebrated like others. But if you keep a kind heart, feel pain for others' suffering, feel shame when you hurt, know to apologize, know to listen, then you are already a small lamp in the dark. With patience, that lamp can light the way for yourself and those beside you. A life of kindness may not guarantee the success that books promise, but it surely ensures you never have to bow your head to anyone. You live upright so you can walk tall. You live kindly so your children are proud. You live honestly so you need not fear being exposed. And above all, you feel a peace no wealth can buy. Goodness is a soft light, but it does not go out. It may not blaze like the glitter of riches, but it can illuminate an entire life. The good do not boast, yet they can turn a house into a home, a community into a haven, and a seemingly ordinary life into quiet proof that living kindly is never in vain. That silence is where morality hides itself. No clamor, no contest, yet leaving its trace forever. Choosing to live virtuously, not for praise, but to remain unashamed before heaven and earth. Throughout the journey of being human, everyone will face moments of choice, between right and wrong, between self-interest and harming others, between good and evil. And in each of those moments, we are writing our own destiny. Living with virtue has never been easy. It demands perseverance when misunderstood, courage when oppressed, and integrity to refrain from repaying evil with evil. Those who choose goodness often swallow their tears, choose patience over retaliation, and choose to help others instead of grasping for more. But it is precisely from those quiet choices that a great character is formed. Such greatness does not require recognition, statues, or praise. It only requires that each night, when you place your hand on your chest, your heart remains calm. That is enough. The ancients taught, once a thought arises in the human heart, heaven and earth are fully aware. This means that even a single thought, whether kind or cruel, is known clearly by heaven and earth. We do not live to please the world, nor do we practice virtue to seek praise or reward. We live with goodness to protect the human essence within us, to preserve inner peace, to not betray the parents who gave us life, those who once loved us, and most importantly, not to betray ourselves. The only companion through this entire lifetime. Living with virtue is like planting an ancient tree. At first, it is nothing more than dry branches and barren soil. But if you continue to nurture it with sincerity, patience, and without resentment, one day, when the sun burns fiercely, you will be the first to rest in its shade. And if you think this world is too chaotic, that no one lives kindly anymore, then let yourself be the first. For when one lamp is lit, the darkness around it is no longer impenetrable. A single virtuous person can soften hearts, ease hatred and resentment, and inspire those still lost to find their way. We do not know if a human life is long or short, nor what awaits us in the future. But we do know this. If we live with kindness, sincerity, gratitude, and compassion, then no matter how stormy life becomes, we will always preserve the light within our hearts. And where there is light, the road ahead can never remain in darkness. In the Analects, Confucius once said, "The noble man worries about having no virtue, not about being unknown to others." Live in a way that honors your conscience, that honors those who taught you, and those who helped you in hardship. That is the essence of a life worthy of respect. And if you have ever lived kindly, done good, been misunderstood yet stayed true, then smile. You are on the right path. Though that road may be quiet, it is the one that leads to the deepest peace. Live so that at the end of your life, you can softly say, "I was not wealthy nor famous, but I lived a life without shame." If the words in this video touch your heart, please help us spread goodness by pressing like, sharing with those you cherish, and subscribing so we can continue this journey of sowing seeds of virtue together. Your one act of sharing might ease the suffering of a soul lost in pain and confusion. Thank you for listening until the end. May you always keep the light within your heart and remain at peace amidst a world of constant change.